Kol Hashaneh Halachot B'chol Yom. Today is Erev Shabbat Kodesh, the 27th of Elul. The first mitzvah of the day will be mitzvah number 584. We are not allowed to rip out from us any signs of tzara'at. Mitzvah number 602 is going to be that we are not allowed to have any non-kosher scales in our possessions. Today, Shiur is sponsored L'Lui Nishmat Chezkel Natanel ben Rabbi Bishai Halevi, and also the Refuah Shlema Chaya Bat Leah L'Chol HaMishar Chol Amo Yisrael. How fitting it is, right before Rosh Hashanah, we'll be discussing the two most important aspects of the Jewish life. One is the mitzvah number 602 of being honest, and mitzvah number 584, which will start the first, will be in reference to how we are to be accepting everything from Hashem, all the gzirot, no matter what they seem like to you. Shelo litlosh simanei tzara'at. We are not to be ripping out the simani, which is the hair of the tzara from our bodies. Shimnimneu milakot simanei tzara'at o lechavot ad sheishtaneh mar'eh. We are prohibited. We know what tzara'at is. Tzara'at is, today they're using a light term, leprosy, which is not. But it's a item that grows, let's say, usually would grow on the arm, on the forearm, or maybe somewhere here, where it would be more visible. Let's say like a format of something we could say like a pimple today, maybe. A circle forms around the hand, and within the circle there is a growth of hair, certain type of hair, which will identify a person as being that with that tzara'at, and we are prohibited from the Torah to tamper with it, to either to rip it out or to rub it out so it doesn't seem like tzara'at, seem like something else. It says in the pasuk in the Dvarim, in the chapter 24, pasuk chet, Hishamer b'nega hatzara'at. You are to watch and prohibited from doing anything with the harm or the visibility of tzara'at. V'lashon sifri, and it's explained in the sifri, Hashamer b'nega hatzara'at v'lo ta'aseh. It is a prohibition, meaning that you should be abstaining yourself from doing anything that will disform that visibility of tzara'at. V'lashon Mishnah, it says over there in Mishnah Negaim Perik Zayin, Mishnah 44, Hatolesh simanei hatumah v'hacha'ah et ha'machiyah over b'lo ta'aseh. Any individual who either rips out the hair, which grows in the middle of the tzara'at, or does anything to make it look like not tzara'at, or he plays around with the visibility of this item, he is transgressing the sin in the Torah. The mitzvah number 584. Mishoshah mitzvah. What are connected to this mitzvah? Katafti beseder ikisha kitazriya. We already explained the mitzvah that are connected in the Parshat of Kitazriya. Be'ezrat Hashem. Ve'etanetek v'lo yigaler b'siman kuf ayin ved, and also about ripping out the damage. Okay, you could learn more with the Rabbi says. However, Midnei mitzvah, what is connected to the mitzvah? Ma she'amru zichronam livracha, shatolesh simanei tumah, ben kolan o afilo miktzatan, o afilo she'akava et ha'mechiyah, kola o afilo miktzatan. So the question is, if a person, what does a person do? What happens to this person where he transgressed this and he either ripped out the hair or he plays with the blemish a little bit. Ben mina basar or mina beged or mina bayit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which tzara'at, whether it's on his physical body or on his clothing or on his house. Ben kodem shireinu hakohen hanagab. Ben toch yemei haseger. Ben toch yemei hachaled. Or afilo acharat patur. In any form, whether before the Kohen saw him or whether after the Kohen saw him, or whether he was decreed to be not having the tzara. A person who transgresses any of the sins, he is obligated to get punished, will get lashed. And on this it says in the Torah, should be very careful, abstaining, watching and keeping the laws of tzara'at. Very careful. And you should do specifically exactly as the Kohanim guide you to do. Tell me the following. To be very careful not to rip out or even bite it out or anything that will deter the tzara'at. So we already know that when anywhere the Torah tells you the word Tishamer, which means keep or watch, pen, when the word says pen, which means that this is the indication that this mitzvah is a prohibition, mitzvah 584, prohibition of harming any or dissolving this tzura of the tzar. Of course, the person will not get lashed unless he had whatever he was doing with his tzarat actually helped to achieve what his goal was. Obviously, his goal was to cover up the tzaraat from the shame. He didn't want to be embarrassing people. We understand all that, but there is prohibition. You're not allowed to do that. So let's say that the Rabbi says here, obviously it's talking about where he completely dissolved or he harmed or he blocked somehow he adjusted that it doesn't seem 100% tzaraat anymore. But if whatever he did not penetrate or did not fulfill what he was wishing to block off the tzaraat, meaning that even whatever he was trying to do, still you could see the tzaraat, in that case, he does not get lashed. Okay? Because he's still tameh. Okay, so then the Rabbi goes into these details of minute details over here. We're going to skip. And there are sages in Gemara Shabbat, Kuf Lamed Bet, Amud Bet, on the 132nd page, second side. They explain more in detail about this mitzvah. Okay, so now the question was, if let's say a baby, they're discussing a baby before the Brit Milah, or even when he grew up, for whatever reason he didn't do Brit Milah, and now they decided to do Brit Milah. Let's say, Chas v'Shalom, that the orla, that extra foreskin has the tzaraat, you have no problem to cut it off for the Brit Milah. As we know, the mitzvah of Brit Milah pushes away the prohibition. As we already explained, that anytime there's a mitzvah of aseh, it always pushes off lot aseh. And we're talking about specifically where we have a Brit Milah to perform, so we have to cut off that extra piece of meat. That is not a problem. This is not, the Torah does not prohibit you on that, in that instance only. And our sages also said in Masechet Yevamot, Pasuk Dav Gimel, second side, the third page, second side, the lo itamar klalan din lavin ela davka belo ta'aseh kal, lomar she'en bo karen. Okay, and so kamo lo ta'aseh de lo tilbash shadnes. הדחין משום נעשה דגלים תעשה דגלים תעשה וכמו כן זה הלאו דלא יקוץ בערתו שאין בו כרת גם כן ובאל כרת צבאין הרי הדבר כאילו נאמר בתורה ופירוש לא מנתיחה מהם במקום הזה זה. So he's explaining over here now in detail a little bit what's the heter, and the heter is that really somebody takes away the tzaraat, he doesn't have the karet, the concept of karet, and therefore that will be even more lenient to what's his name. As we know, Brit Milah also, even though Brit Milah at Shabbat, Shchita and Shabbat is Asur, but Brit Milah is a form of Shchita, and we're allowed it because it's a mitzvah aseh. And why does it doche lo taseh specifically? Because if a person goes around without Brit Milah, he doesn't have the sin of karet. It is harming endemic for him when he dies without a Brit Milah, chas v'shalom, but he doesn't have karet. The only time he has karet by eating a korban pesach, which does not allow it while the person has orla. If he didn't do brit milah, that will be not allowed. But there has to be a secondary action to cause him karet. So the Rabbi explains here that anytime there is a avirah or there's a law or prohibition that does not have come to it with a karet, a punishment of karet, the mitzvah of aseh will be doche. So same thing over here, as we explained with the brit, even if the person has on the growth of that extra piece of meat, the tzarad, the kohen has we have no problem to do brit milah. Aval kol lav sheyesh bo karet lo dechena mishum aseh. The Rabbi wants to add over here a very important lesson, that any prohibition that comes with the avirah of karet, there the mitzvah aseh will not push it off. Therefore, because the Torah has a more punishment towards it and more stricter, therefore, a mitzvah of aseh will not be doiche any mitzvah that does that. All the mitzvah, everything will be explained more about it. The prohibition of this of covering up the tzarad is for women or men, it doesn't matter. Okay, nobody is allowed to play around with the tzarad, and therefore whoever has transgressed, we already explained that if he completely covered up the any memory of tzarad, he gets flashed. Sorry. One of the reasons that was brought down earlier that why we're not allowed to rip off the tzarad. One of the reasons is that a person has to be mikabel from Hashem what comes to him. That's what we said. One of the main aspects of the Judaism is that we accept everything that Hashem is gozer on us, and we live it. And B'ezrat Hashem, by us accepting it, and as we know that's what we're doing right now before Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. We really don't deserve anything in life. Nothing is coming to us, and everything that Hashem does to us is a bracha, and we have to accept it and love it and thank Him for it. And therefore, that's one of the forms of tzara'at that we are prohibited from damaging or diminishing the size and the measurements of it, just to like show that we don't have it. And this is one of the Jewish elements. Now, as we said, Mitzvah 602. As we said earlier, that at the beginning of the speech, that the concept of being honest. We're coming right now before Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, and the whole mahut of Judaism, the whole concept of Judaism is about being honest. You say the truth, and you find the truth, and you look and you seek the truth, and you live the truth. You be the truth. And we have a prohibition. One of the main elements of that is what we have, a beautiful mitzvah number 602. We are not allowed to even own any scales that have any way of any form of somehow to chas v'shalom, to mislead people with the wrong weights or such. We are prohibited to even own, to have any possession in our properties, any scales that have anything wrong with scales. And even if you don't do any business with them, like for instance, some people own antique scales, right? Even though the prohibition will be specifically if they could be used. If they could be used and they have wrong scales, you're not even allowed to have it in your possession. However, if they are unusable, meaning they're very fragile, you put it in there, it will break or it will scatter the beautiful antique into garbage. Then in that case, we'll be allowed to hold on to possession. However, even if they're antique, 500 years old, but they could be used, and they are for sure misleading, those are prohibition 602. Exactly, this is the prohibition of keeping them in your house. It says in the Devarim Kavhei, the 25th chapter of the Devarim, 13th pasuk. It says in the Torah, you're not allowed to have in any of your possessions a stone that is bigger or smaller. Meaning, it says 100 pounds, and really it's 99.9. Or like today, it's a big question. how people are doing all this business with, especially in America, the fraud is left and right, where they write to you 4-inch, 2 inches by 4 inches by 8 feet, a plank of wood, but you're getting 1.9 inches by 3.75 inches by 7.5 feet tall plank. That is a very questionable. How can a Jew do business even selling lumber or anything that really is misleading people? But some would say no, because everybody knows that it's a fake numbers. But really, it's not true. That everybody knows it's fake numbers. That does not qualify for the item to be sold as a 2 by 4 by 8. But really, it's much smaller measurements than that. Same thing. You're not allowed to have anything with the weights. The false weights. It says in the Gemara, page 10, the 89th page, עמוד ב', אסור לאדם שיהיה מידה חסרה או יתרה בתוך ביתו, אפילו הוא עביד של מימי רגליים. A person is not allowed to have anything that will give false measurements. Even buckets that are used to, let's say, even for the Rabbi brings, the Gemara brings over there specifically, they're used for number 1 in the bathroom. People have that outside of their doors or whatever it is, or inside their doors, so not to go to the bathroom outside in the night. Even that, if it has a measurement and it's a wrong measurement, you have to be very careful, and you're not allowed to own such a thing. The Rambam Zal, the Rambam said, Sefer HaMitzvoth, ואתחשוב שיהיה שני מצוות אחר מהם שני לווין. אמנם באו לשנות להשלים דיני המצווה עד שיכלו שני מיני השיעור, ואין המשקל והמידה. Okay, the Rabbi said, don't think it's two different mitzvot, the measurements or weights, because so the Rabbi says over here it's actually one mitzvah, regardless whether we're talking about the wrong measurements or the wrong weights, those things that is included in one mitzvah, one avirah, and number 602 is a person who owns any of this item, he goes into that prohibition and breaks that mitzvah. Mishushem mitzvah zo, בקצת דיניה כמנהג בספר הזה, כתבתי בספר סדר הקדושים. So everything is related to this mitzvah, the foundations and the details in this mitzvah, you could find in mitzvah also number 259 and 258. במצוות tzadok המאזניים, explains exactly the right measurements of how the scales should be, especially in olden days where they were relying primarily on hand weights and not on what we have today, digital. So all the discussions are in those mitzvot. We'll get there, B'ezrat Hashem, throughout the year. Tafshin Pei Gimel. This abira is in any instance at any time. It doesn't matter, either a male or female. They're all prohibited from having this false weights. A person who transgresses this avira and he keeps the false weights in his house, even if the person will never use them, he still transgresses prohibition. Again, they said the rule is that they have to be fit to be used, but not even if you're not using them. Let's say antiquities that are usable, the meaning they're strong enough, there will be a prohibition. But antiquities that don't have the strength, they'll be okay to have in your house, to be used, and those will be okay. However, there is no lashes for this sin, because you actually didn't do anything physically. You just left them alone in your house. But however, there is a also, let's say if a Jew, Shalom, used the false scales. So you're going to say, listen, Rabbi, the Torah tells us we're not allowed to keep false scales in the house. So why does this guy have it in his house? So maybe lash him. So we said, let's say that he even used it, right? For having in your house, you're not going to get lashed because you didn't do any physical action. The Torah requires physical action to get lashed. So what about if he even went ahead and used it? Now maybe he should get lashed. No, the Torah says he cannot be get lashed. Even if the Torah told you the prohibition that he's not allowed to even use it, let's say, We're not talking about using, we're talking about just having it in your house. But let's say if the Torah came and said you can't have false scales in your house, and you wait and you did falsely measurement, the halacha is that since you have to pay back for the stolen money that you took, therefore there was no lashes for that. So very simple, because Kol Olav in Tanet Shlomin, the Torah tells us any prohibition that there is a payment to compensate the individual that you stole from, there is no lashes for it. Rabbi Rabotai, have a wonderful Shabbos. We will resume the series right after Rosh Hashanah, video recordings of the Mitzvoth starting. So Rosh Hashanah is number 2, on the first Mitzvoth of Rosh Hashanah, and then the second, the third and the fourth will be on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. If you want to be included in an email, we'll start resuming Bezat Hashem the sheets that you could print out and learn throughout the week, the 2 Mitzvot daily. Bezat Hashem, we're working right now on making it much more readable and presentable. So as soon as we have done that, we'll be sending out. You could join the email 2lawsdaily@gmail.com. It's number 2, laws, LAWS, daily, DAILY, @gmail.com to get on the list. And you will get an email as a request to be put on the list, and you'll get a weekly Yom. This is our second year going around. Bez Hashem, hopefully we'll all be well versed in the Mitzvot Deoraita. Have a wonderful, good event. Only Nachat and Tzmachot.